right, well, welcome everyone to another Saberwing Nature Tours virtual program. We're excited to have you here tonight. My name is Rob Ritma. I'm one of the owners of Saberwing Nature Tours. And we have at least one other Saberwing person on here this evening. Jamie Cunningham, one of our other guides, is on. We're both excited to welcome you here for a great program on Colombia with Edison Buenano, who, if you joined us a few weeks ago, we had him on to talk about Ecuador as well. But we're excited to have him here for Colombia. Just a few reminders before we get started. If you could remain on mute and ask any questions through the chat, we would appreciate that. If it's an appropriate time to ask the question, I will interrupt Edison to ask for, questions from the chat. If not, we'll take care of all the questions at the end of the program. It just keeps things a lot easier that way. So without any further introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Edison Buenano, and we're going to listen to a great talk here on Colombia.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yep, if we could have everyone on mute, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. And thank you for enjoying this program about Colombia. Colombia is one of the beautiful countries to visit, you know. Hoping later everybody can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you well, Edison.
Okay, thank you. So this webinar is about birding in Colombia. You know, Colombia is one of the mega biodiversity countries. So I start, you know, with a coffee, a picture. I put a picture of coffee because Colombia has one of the best coffee on this world. So when you will be enjoying our trips, you will have a cup of coffee, a nice cup of coffee every morning before we start our birding day. So I just tell you, you know, Colombia is one of the mega diversity countries. So Colombia has 10% of the biodiversity in the planet. So I is considered one of the 14 countries that has the 70% of the biodiversity in this world. Colombia has, I mean, the size of Colombia in the Wobbler is only 0.22% the global terrestrial portion. Colombia is a country of the birds. You know, you heard Colombia has close to 2,000 species. So Colombia has 1,974 species of birds. That is insane. That is a country with most of the birds probably one country has in this world. Everybody probably has the field guides or have seen the field guides, The Birds of Colombia by Hilti. So if you compare that book, you have to add 260 more birds that they have right now. So the total species for the continent or resident species is Colombia has 1,954 species, and then 1,539 species are residents. So that's meaning that you can bird Colombia all year around. Everybody can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Edison. You're good.
Okay, so I just tell you that Colombia has 1,539 species. They are resident, so you can bird Colombia all year around. You know, just depending of the seasons. Like in the tropics, we don't have seasons. We have like a wet season and dry season. And then we have 125 arboreal migrants that we are watching right now. You know, sandpipers and some beautiful wobblers are moving around. 92 are considered hypothetical species. 82 are endemics. So they are 12 endemic species in the last probably 6 or 7 years, because there are more birds there are more researchers doing all the work to get probably a new species for the world. And then we have 18 species are included the southern arboreal are resident now. That means that the species like red-eyed vireo, swallowtail kites are resident now here. 15 are southern migratory that called austral migrant, and 4 are probably introduced, but they are doing well in the forest. We have one species that are extinct, that was the Bogota grebe. Colombia is the country has more hummingbirds on this world. You know, Colombia has 165 species of hummingbirds, and in the world we have 343 species they are recorded. Talking about Santa Marta, because our trip is focused in the Santa Marta mountains and all the Caribbean. So that is one spectacular trip. So first, let me tell you, the Santa Marta range is one of the oldest range in Colombia and in South America. Is older than the Andes, and this is separated by the Andes. Santa Marta is like isolated mountain. That's why the biodiversity, flora and fauna, they are unique. So they have the highest mountain or the highest peak. The highest peak is Cristobal Colon. It is 5,775 meters or close to 19,000 feet. So you can imagine the Caribbean go like straight, or maybe just from the Caribbean about 30 or 40 kilometers, you can cover from sea level to 19,000 feet. That means every 200 meters, we have a new microclimate, a new habitat for different species. That's why the biodiversity and the endemics in Santa Marta are crazy. So probably most of the species, they will become an endemics in that area because the mountains are so steep, and they are very isolated. So the birds, they cannot move far away. That's why they have been doing a research, and there are birds like just an example, the long-tailed ambird, it has been seen in the continent and in the mountains, but right now this ambird has different sound, and the people do a research, and it became a Santa Marta ambird. So it is happening with most of the mammals as well. There is a night monkey. Also, they will become an endemic night monkey in Santa Marta that usually we will see every night or every couple nights just moving around to the lodge. In Santa Marta, we have 20 species, they are endemic. This is a little map, the Caribbean area, that is that we focus. So we fly to Barranquilla, and we start in Barranquilla. We follow all the Caribbean to Santa Marta, but we continue to Rio Hacha. Rio Hacha is close to the border of Venezuela. Basically, we will visit here all these like scrub forest or dry forest. And then we start climbing to La Minca. La Minca is about 1,000 feet. We start changing to the tropical forest, and from La Minca to El Dorado Lodge, the El Dorado Lodge is about 6,000 feet. We will have a cloud forest. And then Cuchilla de San Lorenzo, that is the top of the mountain that we will visit close to El Dorado Lodge. That is about 8,000 feet. So when we are in Barranquilla, close to our hotel, just about probably 10 minutes, we have a nice patch of the scrub forest where we will look for the chestnut wing chachalaca. That is one of the endemics, real endemics I call in Santa Marta. And the population, it has been declining because the people has been cutting the forest down. But there is this university in Barranquilla, they are protecting quite patch of forest to protect some birds and some habitat for this bird that is endemic. We have this rosette-throated puffbird. This bird is only found in Colombia and Venezuela. This is quite fairly common bird. It's a secondary bird that we will see close to the roads. Once we have seen this bird, which has this bird, it doesn't move much. They stay in one place, just probably looking at. Another one is a secondary bird that is a streak-backed wren, also is only found in Colombia and Venezuela. All this bird is really when we are doing a roadside birding around Salamanca wetlands. Northern screamer. The northern screamer is one of the biggest birds in the area of the Salamanca and is only found in Venezuela and Colombia. So you are going to listen many, many times. It's just endemic to Venezuela and Colombia because this range of the birds is a dry forest or cloud forest and is only found in that kinds of habitats. That's why to do a Caribbean trip is amazing because probably in a week we can get more than 300 species and probably 30 or 40% they will be nearly endemic and endemic with the Santa Marta. We have a yellow-cheeked spine-tail that is also found in the wetlands of Salamanca. This is a little widespread bird from Venezuela to Ecuador and one part of Brazil. Drab cuckoo, this is one of the hard birds. Usually is skulkers. Once a while it came to the open, but we were heard more than seen. It specialized in the dry forest close to the wetlands. Another endemic, not really good picture, but is endemic. That's one of the top birds to get here in close to Barranquilla in Salamanca. That's a sapphire belly hummingbird. So this bird is focusing or they specialize in the mangroves. So Salamanca National Park has a really nice patch of mangroves and it's only the place that we have a chance to see these birds. Once a while it moves around between mangroves, Rio Hacha probably, and Salamanca. But the best place to see this bird or looking for is the Salamanca. Salamanca wetland is just really close to Barranquilla. It's about like just 8 kilometers from the city. Pipewater tyrant is another common bird that we breed in Salamanca. That this pipewater tyrant you can see from Central America and South America. Guadal jacana, probably some of you have seen this species before. That is quite fairly common in the wetlands. It is found more in the coast area. We will see this bird in the Salamanca wetlands. One of the beautiful birds and nearly endemic is this chestnut spiculate. This chestnut spiculate habitat is another dry forest. Usually it moves in a mixed flock or in a pairs. This is one of the birds that we look for because it's nearly endemic. It's only found in Colombia, especially in the Santa Marta in the Caribbean, and share a little bit range with the Venezuelan. Black crested anstrike is another species that moving a mixed flock in the scrub habitat. You know, you can see a little bit in the background. So that is the acacia, like acacia trees. That is a dry forest. That is one of the birds quite fairly common, or we hear most of the time when we are walking around the roads or the trails in the dry forest. When we visit Los Flamencos National Parks, so we move around, you know, Barranquilla, we pass through Santa Marta and we go to Rio Hacha. Close to Rio Hacha, we have Los Flamencos Sanctuary. Los Flamencos Sanctuary is a protected area, especially for some species that is almost nearly endemic. And the only range is the border with Venezuela and Colombia in the Caribbean. So we have this vermilion cardinal. The vermilion cardinal is one of the specialties that we will see in Los Flamencos National Parks. There is an interesting things because before we have to walk, you know, around this forest, but right now there is a local people that involved in feeding some birds, and there is one ranch, and local people start putting some corn. That's why you will see here a little corn he was eating. So that's really good because for us, we will see well these species and we will have also the local population or the local communities, they are involved. Another nice thing is the guys are being training to the local community. So we have a local guys, they are part of the community, And we have to take one of them to look around the species are in this national park. One of the hard birds to get, that is a Tokuyo Sparrow. This is another skulker bird, more grand bird, and is only found in Colombia and Venezuela. So the reach of the endemic area, or nearly endemic area in the Caribbean, is amazing there in Santa Marta. This is a little picture, a nice picture of the Los Flamencos National Park. If we are in Los Flamencos, we have to see the greater flamingos. Another species is around that area, that's an Scarlet Ibis. That is an amazing bird, especially when you have a full adult to see this colorful. Usually we take a paddle canoe to see this bird because they don't get close to the age. So we have to get more to a little mangroves area that is close to this park. One of my beautiful birds, that's white-whiskered hermit. Oh my goodness, this bird is a little skulker, is very noisy. And in the dry forest, this kind of bird is much easy to see, especially when it's dry, because we don't have so many leaves. But even when it's green, this bird came in the open. So this is one of the another specialties or another target bird that we will look for in our trip. It's only found against Colombia and Venezuela. This is not a good picture, but the hummingbird is good to see. It's another nearly endemic. That is a Buffy Hummingbird. It's another one specialized in the scrub forest. It's only found in the area, in Los Flamencos area, close to the water. There is a nice pond in Los Flamencos where we look for this species. Orinoco Saltator is another great bird to see there. Also, this one is going to feed some corn in the local ranch. It's another nearly endemic that we will enjoy it to see well this species, because sometimes it's really skulker or it's really hard to find one of these. Blackback anstrike is another bird. It's not a common bird. It's really uncommon, this species. Another one specialized in the scrub forest, in the dry forest. So there are a couple of spots that we are looking for. One is in Los Flamencos National Park. Another is close to La Minca. It's the only two spots when we can see this blackback anstrike, another nearly endemic bird. The white belly ambird has been seen in the Dibuya roads. You know, when we are traveling from Barranquilla to Rio Hacha, there are side roads, and the Dibuya road is one of the best roads to look for this species, because the habitat is getting not so scrub, it's a little more wet scrub forest. So, you know, ambirds and pitas, they are really skulker birds, but we're patients, we can get a nice view like in this picture. The range of this species, it came from probably from the Panama to northern Brazil. The scale dove is another common bird that we will see usually sitting on the wires. So when you start, you know, leaving a little bit the dry forest, we start climbing to the tropical forest. We have more habitat, more vegetation is growing there. We have this escape piculet. The escape piculet is another nearly endemic. It's found in Colombia and Venezuela, and it is found around La Minca, just probably about maybe 300 meters up from La Minca. That's a good place to look for this escape piculet. This species usually moving a mixed flock. Another beautiful bird that I like it also is nearly endemic. Look at this golden winged sparrow. Wow, that is one of the birds really I love to see every time I go there. This is another nearly endemic bird found in Venezuela and Colombia, and we will see just about La Minca. This is quite fairly common bird. It moves on the ground. It's a little noisy sometimes, but it is really beautiful bird. Nice. still invented hummingbirds. So when we stay also in La Minca town, there is a nice hummingbird feeders where we will see the still invented hummingbirds, white-necked Jacobin, uh, uh, another nice hummingbirds usually are moving there. So the still invented hummingbird is one of them that we will see well at the La Minca feeders. This pearly-breasted toddy tyrant. This is a widespread bird, you know, from Panama to Argentina. That is beautiful bird to see because it's most of the time we hear when we are walking in the scrub forest, and it's really nice. It gives you all the times really nice views. So and it's a really nice bird to see and photograph. The yellow oriole, this is another common bird that is around the scrub forest that we will see in Barranquilla, Santa Marta, and Rio Hacha. And then we start climbing to El Dorado Lodge. So we start, they say Sierra Nevada, Corazón del Mundo, Montaña Sagrada, Heart of the World, Sacred Mountain. That is a beautiful. So when we start moving from La Minca that we stay, all the way is uphill, is a steep hill, very steep hill, and the road is a little bumpy. It's a really bumpy road. So to get to the lodge, but we stop in different altitude to get the different endemics in the Santa Marta, because when we start leaving Minca, we start looking for the Santa Marta endemics.
Wow.
One of the best bird, it is black-fronted wood quail. You know, I started doing my Colombia trips 11 years ago. At that time, we stayed in El Dorado Lodge, that is part of the Pro Aves Foundation. So Pro Aves Foundation have been doing a great job for protecting areas all over Colombia. I don't know exactly, probably they have 26 reserves all over Colombia, and their list is about 1,500 species in all the reserve together. When I start looking for this bird in my first time, we heard more than sing. And you know, good quails, they are really top birds. But right now they are putting some corn and they go to feed in the corn and they have seen more the behavior, they have seen the chicks and they have starting a little bit the nest. So when you start feeding some birds, also it's good for us to start learning more about the behavior because there are some species that we really don't know how is the nest or how is the behavior with the chicks. So sometimes to feed birds, it helps to the science too. Another endemic. By the way, the black-fronted wood quail is found only in Colombia and Venezuela. White-tailed star-frontlet. This is another beautiful hummingbird, and this is one of the real Santa Marta endemics. It is only found about 6,000 feet to 8,000 feet in the Santa Marta mountains. We have been lucky and to see this one at the feeders. There are 2 or 3 individuals they go to feed at El Dorado Lodge. Santa Marta Good Star. This is another hummingbird like a bumblebee. This is one of the smallest Santa Marta endemics that we will see in our trip. It is found below El Dorado Lodge. So when we are at El Dorado Lodge, we move up and down hill looking for all the endemics. The distance are not so long distance, but the road is not really great road. It takes time to get from one place another place, but we will have plenty of time to see and look for like this species. One of the top birds, and really, I can say one of the really hard and rare birds is this black-backed thornbill. This picture I took 3 years ago. Usually this bird we look for, when we are at El Dorado Lodge, we have one day go to up to the top to the mountain ridge in San Lorenzo. That is the best place to look for this species, but it's very rare. There was that year for 2 years in a row, they came down in January, December, and stayed probably until March or April. It was a good place to see this bird, and they full a full adult, you know. This one, it was one of the first great picture of this species that I remember I took many, I took like 4 or 5 years ago. But right now it is became more rare. I have seen being on the top of the ridge feeding in the eucalyptus flowers. That has been very interesting for a hummingbird feed in the eucalyptus flowers. But this will be one of the rare birds to look for in our trip in Santa Marta. That's a beautiful bird. Line quail dove, that's another bird, very skulker. You know, quail doves, some pitas, some birds, they are really skulker and hard bird to see. This quail dove also is coming to feed the corn at the lodge, in the lodge. So we have a nice chance to see this one. And this bird is only found in Colombia, Venezuela, and Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a good species to see there. Another species, probably one of the common species, is the Santa Marta brass finch. The Santa Marta brass finch we will see just around the lodge, close to your cabin when we go to the top. It's very friendly, this one. Right now, the people at the lodge, they have a light, so that attracts some moths at night. And we will see some birds like this one feeding in the morning. Look at this, is one of the beautiful sunrise when we climb to the San Lorenzo Ridge. San Lorenzo Ridge is the high elevation, 8,000 feet, is we will look for the mountain tanagers, wobblers in that area. But every time I have been lucky to see this sunrise like that. And I love the sunrise and the sunset from the lodge is amazing. To see the sunset on the Caribbean Ocean is amazing. You know, I told you the Santa Marta mountain is like an isolated island, far away from all the places. This one, it was an emerald toucanet, but researchers can be doing a great job, and they doing, you know, the recording, studying the behavior, doing the blood tests. In some cases, they studied this bird, and this bird became a new species, a new endemic for the area. This is called Santa Marta toucanet now. Ampitas, you know, the ampitas is very hard to see. Basically, we have species ampitas there. Santa Marta ampita is this one, rusty-breasted ampita, Rufus Ampita. That's the ampitas that we can see in that area. But this Santa Marta ampita, there is a San Lorenzo research stations, is where we can see now this bird, because the ranger start feeding this bird and is coming every morning. I hope they are keep doing after the pandemic. I hope they are still doing, or they keep doing that, because it really helps us and we help them, you know, because the ranger just stay sometimes alone for a week, but this is good entertaining to feed these birds. And most of the birds are just, we stop there to see this beautiful ampita. This is a rusty-breasted ampita. This is a video that I made through my beans. It's also considered another endemic, or probably in the next couple of years it will be a Santa Marta rusty-breasted ampita. That's another one we look for in our trips. We heard most of the time this bird when we are below to the El Dorado Lodge. So when we move to the mountains from El Dorado Lodge is 6,000 feet, we move to the ridge about 8,000 feet. So we climb 2,000 feet in just 8 kilometers. We got in the morning, and this Santa Marta Wobbler is one of the top birds to see. Usually they move in a mixed flock, underground mixed flock. So it is very hard to see sometimes because it's very skulker. But most of the times we will have a chance to see once or two times this bird. That is another real endemic in the Santa Marta, I call. White Lord Wobbler, also that's another endemic, Santa Marta endemics. That one we will see close. Sometimes it go to take a bath close to the lodge. There is a nice fontaine, and sometimes I have seen taking a bath there, or just below the lodge we have a great chance to see these species. One of the hard birds to get is the Santa Marta parakeets. There are some populations, probably two populations, They are moving around the lodge. I hope in the population is growing. Uh, the Pro Aves Foundation, they have a project. They are putting some boxes where the Santa Marta parakeet, probably they are hoping they can use these boxes maybe for roosting or for breeding. Hoping it, I haven't seen yet, it's not working. It's working with another species, that scarlet fronted parakeet. I have seen in the box of that species. But I hope this species, probably with the time, it learn, and it will be nice because population is recovered very slowly, but it's good because all the area in Santa Marta is protected. This is another video that I make through the scope. Beautiful Santa Marta mountain tanagers. This one was a split from the black chicked mountain tanager. That is a beautiful bird to get. Also, is only finding that elevation. Imagine that the birds that like mountain tanager, the wobbler, we have to get to that altitude, the habitat, to look for these species. So that's why Santa Marta is considered one of the hottest spots on this planet, because the biodiversity of the rich in endemic flora and fauna is a unique species. Another look for another wonderful bird that we really love to see every time I go there, especially is in the morning roosting, to find out roosting is great. This is a Santa Marta screech owl. It's a split from the vermicula, the screech owl. So we have been lucky to see this bird every time I have been in our Santa Marta trips. Blossom chrome. This is a Santa Marta blossom chrome. This is another species. It's fine about, sometimes it goes to the feed. There is a nice flowers around the lodge, or sometimes I have seen at the feeders, but the best place is below to the lodge. There is couple shops, the people sell just sodas, cookies, or candies. There is a nice patch of flowers, and usually we have seen there most of the time. This is the bird I was talking before. This bird was a long-tailed amber. So, but they do a research, and they find this is a different species that you find in the continent, in the mountain, in the eastern or western slope in the continent. So this became a new species, especially new endemic for the area. Is a Santa Marta amber. When we are on top, also we have chance to see the Paramosidida. Paramosidida is a rare species everywhere, and the range is from Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. You can see this species. This is a nice sunset with the band-tail wands from the lodge. Coppery emerald. This coppery emerald is another wonderful hummingbird to get. So the distribution is very restricted to Santa Marta. We have seen this one below to the lodge about like 4,000, between 4,000 and 5,000 feet. Leisurely Serpentine, that is another good hammer that we will see at the feeders when we stay at the lodge in El Dorado. This species is very rare everywhere, and is only found in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. That is really hard bird to get. In Ecuador, is very hard to get. The best place for this species is El Dorado Lodge. That is the species that we can see around the feeders. Beautiful Chlorophonia. This blue-necked Chlorophonia go to the bananas feeder at the lodge every morning, every midday, and the afternoon. It's one of the common at the feeders, and it's a beautiful bird to see. Probably, if they do a research, it could be a new species, because the red in the forelore is different than the other ones you can see especially in the eastern side, in the foothills. This is the scarlet-fronted parakeet. This is the parakeet that also is taking the nest for the Santa Marta parakeets. This is a bigger than the Santa Marta parakeets, and is sitting in one of the wax pans. This is the pans they use for nesting. all these Scarlet fronted Parakeet and the Santa Marta Parakeet. So this is the competition for Santa Marta Parakeet when they start building the nests. Black and Chestnut Eagle is another great bird to see there. This is a white bird spread in the Andes. The 2 years ago now, there was a nest of this black and chestnut eagle. It was close to the lodge, and we have access to see this bird, and we saw the chick and the fly, and the adult was flying. Banter one. When I started doing my trips for the first time 11 years ago, this bird was really hard bird to see, almost heard than seen, because people has been hunting this species so much. So this species became so scared and is very shy when can see people. But right now it's crazy. You will see this bantail one around the lodge, feeding on the corn, making noises. It could be you wake up cold in the morning when we're doing our trip there, but it's a good because population is increasing. So that's really great for all the species that was hard to see before, or almost the population was so small. So this protecting area is very important to the population start increasing. Violet crowned goodnip is another one that we will see at the feeders. It's a species widespread. You will see in Panama, Colombia, Venezuela. Now the new name for this species is the crowned goodnip. Nice brown violet there is quite a fairly common hummingbird that we will see at the feeders at the lodge. So it is also a widespread hummingbird. Another specialty bird that we look for in the mixed flock around the lodge, below the lodge, up the lodge, is a little one patch of area that we have to walk. Look for a mixed flock. It is this golden-breasted fruit eater. This is only found in Colombia and Venezuela, and is only found in Santa Marta mountains when we're doing our trip. So that's a great species to get. Everybody loves the quetzal. This is another nearly endemic species. So imagine to see this white-tipped quetzal just about your cabin, or when we're just walking from the dining room to your cabin is really great. All these species, they are increasing the population is great. Probably there was a nest 2 years ago, and I haven't seen the chick yet of this species, but the male and the female, usually they are moving around the lodge, and it's a good species to see. Another bird that we will see at the feeders is the Headed Tanager. This is quite widespread bird that we see from Panama through Bolivia. Black cap tanagers is another tanager that we will see at the feeders when we are at El Dorado Lodge. Black-chested jay, that's another common bird that we will see from La Minca to the lodge. So we will see probably from 1,000 feet to 6,000 feet. It's moving at groups, and is quite fairly common bird to see. Usually it's very noisy next to the roads that we are walking when we are driving. So that's another species that is really nice to see. It is the range is probably from Mexico to Colombia, I said. So I just finished the part of the Santa Marta. So our trip was focusing, in Barranquilla, Santa Marta, Rio Hacha, La Minca, and El Dorado Lodge. So when we're doing that trip, we have a chance to see about the 26 endemic, real endemic Santa Marta endemics, plus for another 30 nearly endemics between Colombia and Venezuela. The distance that we move between one place to another place is no long distance. So that's help for us just sometimes walking or drive a little bit, and we have different habitat to look for different species. So we have the central route. We fly from Barranquilla to Bogota, and we start our stay extension in Bogota. From Bogota, we take the central part of Colombia. We go first to, our first stop is going to be a Líbano. That is a cloud forest, is about 7,000 feet, is the location. And from here, our base will be Manizales. Manizales is a nice city, it's a coffee city, good coffee there. And from Manizales, we move here to El Nevado del Ruiz. And just close to Manizales in this area is Rio Blanco Reserve. And then finally, we will move to Pereira, where is the Tonkin Bayard Reserve. And then we will fly from Pereira to Bogota on our last day. So our first day, we fly from Barranquilla to Bogota. After we arrive to Bogota, we transfer to Observatorio de los Colibris. This is a really nice place in La Calera. It's about probably hours 20 from the airport. This is about 3,000, close to 10,000, between 9,000 and 10,000 feet. We look for this species, blue-throated star frontlet. This species is nearly endemic. It's only found in Colombia and Venezuela, but for one of the reasons that we don't know yet, this species show there at the hummingbirds at the Observatorio de los Colibris. And it became really a popular place for birders, photographers, because you will see probably another 40 species there. When we're doing our trip, also we stay one afternoon looking for these species, plus glowing pub lake. This glowing pub lake is, the range is only found in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. So Sorbet hummingbird, you know, they are really great hummingbirds. They have their place, white belly wood star, Pteridium metal tails, green-tailed trimburrow, black-tailed trimburrows. All these pictures were taken there at Observatorio de los Colibris. Also, they service a really great coffee there. So when we finish this nice place, we go back to our hotel in Bogota. And the next day, we visit La Florida Park. You know, Bogota has about 8 million people living, but they have a really nice wetlands. One of them is La Florida Park that they support so many birds, and there are 3 endemics that we will see there: silvery-throated spine-tailed Apollinaris wren and the Bogota rail. So this is the Bogota rail. This species really, the population has been declining for contamination because they are using the wetlands for different reasons. You know, population is growing as well, but there are 3 or 4 areas they are protecting this species, the Bogota rail. Another nearly endemic bird that we will see there at La Florida is the Rufus brown conebill. It's only found in Colombia and Venezuela. This is one of the species the population need is a secondary forest. So they are doing well with these species around the park. Another bird, a good bird that we look for is the spot-flanked gallinule. It is, the range of these species is widespread in South America, but it's always to see these species in the highlands. Yellow-hooded blackbird is another species that we will see in La Florida Park. When we leave La Florida Park, we move about 1 hour to Jardín Encantado. A close town is San Francisco. This is really amazing. They have probably about 30 feeders, 30 hummingbirds feeders, and it's just crazy to see how many hummingbirds they have. Probably, I don't know, probably they need 10 pounds of sugar every day or more. I am not sure how much exactly they need every day. But this place became another great spot for birders and photographers. The ruby topaz hummingbird is one of the hummingbirds go to the feeders, and it's just shown you in the last couple years. So I saw this one not last year, but 2 years ago now at the feeders, and it's one of probably still molting. Is a young one because you will see here still molting on the crown. So this is one of the target birds also we have in our trip. Another one is quite common and fairly common at the feeder is this is a Colombian endemic. is Indigo Cup Hummingbirds. So this is one of the best places to see and photograph and enjoy this jewel, you know. It's just a beautiful, beautiful hummingbirds. And you know, Colombia is the country has most of the hummingbirds in the world. Another one is the gorgeted good star. This is fine, you know, in Ecuador too, but that is one of the places that we look for. Probably we will add another 10 new species of hummingbird when we visit Jardín Encantado. Then we start in El Líbano. El Líbano is a cloud forest and there is still nice patch of forest, but basically around that area, around the town is just coffee plantation. But in this patch of secondary forest, we have a chance to see this yellow-headed brush finch. This yellow-headed brush finch is another endemic. There are different spots to look for these species, but this species on our way to Manizales. So, and is usually the population is growing a little bit in Lebanon. I have seen probably 4 together now. So that's a good news because they start recovering a little bit. But Lebanon is a coffee town. Another endemic that we look for about Lebanon, that is a Crested and Tanager. This is a really noisy, it moves in a pair, but really noisy. So we hear first, then sing. It's another bird that we look for in this patch of the cloud forest in Lebanon, about probably 7,000 feet. Then we are in Manizales, and we will visit this Rio Blanco Reserve. This Rio Blanco Reserve is really great. The water company is in charge of that, and the forest just close to this big city is amazing. And this place became popular because they start feeding some ampitas. But of course, there are many more great birds that we usually see there. Like this one, look at this brown-banded ampita. That's another Colombian endemic. It's only found in that area of Manizales, Rio Blanco, and they are feeding there. They start feeding this bird, and they feed also slate crown, chestnut crown, and bicolor ampita that you will see some photos later. Look at this video where they are feeding. So the ranger collect every morning some earthworms to feed these ampitas. This is another slate crown ampita. This slate crown ampita is found in Colombia, Ecuador, and part of Peru. Chestnut crown ampita is another beautiful one they are feeding. Bicolor ampita, this is one of the top ampitas that we will see in Rio Blanco Reserve. This range is only found in Colombia and Ecuador. In Ecuador, there are just few reports border in La Bonita Road border with Colombia. But Rio Blanco is one of the places to see this bird. Tourmaline San Angel. Also, the Rio Blanco has a nice hummingbird feeders. We have this Tourmaline San Angel. The Tourmaline San Angel is only found in Colombia and Ecuador. And we have a great photo opportunities and enjoy all the hummingbirds there is around, like this wedge-bill hummingbird. There's a new name now, Jeffers wedge-bill. That the old name was wedge-bill hummingbird. It has been split in different form. Long-tailed sylph also is really, you will see in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. Blue-winged mountain tanager. So that is quite, you know, is the range is all South America in the highlands. That's a beautiful bird. Also, they start putting some bananas to attract more tanager at the Rio Blanco Reserve. One of the targets for us will be golden plume parakeet. So Rio Blanco is a great place to see. And I have seen all my visit there. So we just have to look for, and the local guys, they are walking every day. So they help us to find these beautiful birds there. This is a flammulated tree hunter. This flammulated tree hunter is one of the top birds and really is cocker. But in Rio Blanco, we have a chance to see this species. Look at this one. This one it was building a nest. It has a dry moss on the bill. The range for this species is Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. White cap dipper. So close to the Rio Blanco Reserve, also there is a dam. They built a dam because it's water for manizales, and we will see the white cap dipper feeding close to the dam in the reserve. Another wonderful bird that we will see there is this green and black fruit eater. Is in the Cotingas family. Once a while, they came to feed with the Ampita. That is a crazy. You can imagine see a fruit eater and Ampita together? That's insane sometimes. You know, that's, I mean, I can say that's a wildlife. When we are doing also, this El Bosque Hacienda El Bosque, that is one of the new reserves that we will visit in our trip. Why? For this reason, crescent face Ampita. This is the bird that everybody loves to see when we are traveling close to Manizales or traveling from Manizales to Los Nevados National Park. We stop there and they are feeding this bird. They call Lunita, moon. They call moon, crescent face moon. That will be Lunita. That is only found in Ecuador and Colombia. Another bird they feed is a Rufus Ampita also. This Rufus Ampita is going to be or have been split in 7 different forms. Golden fronted red star is another one we will see in Rio Blanco. It is also very restricted range between Colombia and Venezuela. Mass flower piercer is another one frequent bird to see close to the bananas or close to the hummingbirds feeders. And then we climb to the Páramo, Parque Los Nevados, Nevados National Park, to look for these jewels. This is one of another favorite birds that is around that area. Nevado del Ruiz, you know, this is a beautiful volcano to see. It's 17,458 feet. But this is the reason. Look at that. Well, beautiful hummingbird is this one, Buffy Hummingbird. The Buffy Hummingbird has 2 subspecies before. Now they became a full species. They have a green, and blue. So there are 3 species of Hummingbirds, Buffy, green, and blue. But this one is one around Los Nevados National Parks. Usually we will just stop and waiting for this one show to us. It's another endemic in Colombia, but look at this video that I make in my last trip there. Look at the colors on the gorget, on the throat. Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. White-chinned Tisseltails is another one that is moving around in the Páramo in Los Nevados. So it's very skulker sometimes, but once a while it's jumping to the top of the vegetation to get a great views of the Tisseltail. Tony Ampita is one of the easy Ampitas to see in the Páramo because Páramo is a pampas grass, no vegetation. So we have a good chance to see, but we hear most of the time these species of Ampita, and also is one of the easiest Ampita and one of the widespread Ampitas. Many striped canastero is another species that we look for in Los Nevados National Park. That is, you know, when we move up, we don't have so many species, but the species there are unique because the vegetation and the altitude makes so much difference. We are here probably about 12,000 feet. These birds only find in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. Sage wren or grass wren, the old name was grass wren, that is really widespread and is only found in the Páramo area in the high elevations, in the grass, in the pampas grass. Another wonderful bird that we will see, close to Los Nevados National Park, there is a hot spring called Las Termales. So this is a hotel too, and there is a nice hummingbird feeders there. So there we have a chance to see this rainbow-birded thornbill. That is a really awesome bird because it's really top hummingbird to see. It's very scared and it's only found in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. So very restricted range and finding montane cloud forests. Also in Las Termales, they put some bananas, so it's attraction for the scarlet belly mountain tanager, lacrimose mountain tanager. Shining Sunbeam is another one. It's a beautiful, just when you listen the name Shining Sunbeam, I like the name, you know. I don't know who named all these birds like that, but I like this name. Golden-breasted pavlake is another one that we will see at Las Termales, and this one is found in Colombia and Ecuador only. When we leave the Los Nevados National Park, we visit the Tonkin Bayard Reserve. That is a really nice reserve. We're looking for torrent dogs close to the river. We saw the male and female, usually is moving around. Gray spiculate, it was quite distant when I took this picture, but it's another Colombian endemic. So we visit this reserve for many birds, but there are special birds like gray spiculate, red-ruffed fruit crow, and Headed Ampita there. So plus Cauca one, they are endemic. This is the Cauca one. This Cauca one probably was almost extinct, and there is a nice population that we can see only in Tonkin Bayard Reserve. Red-ruffed fruit crow. For one of the reasons, maybe forest, maybe trips, maybe secondary forest, transition trips, transition forest, this bird is quite fairly common, where it's rare everywhere else. So you enjoy our trips and you will enjoy to see this bird with us. And this is one of the target birds that we will visit Tonkin Bayard Reserve. And just we love it because just walking around the cabins, you will see this amazing bird. You know, sometimes I can say in most of the countries it's rare, but for one of the reasons, this bird is quite fairly common in Tonkin Bayard. Of course, you know, when we have this migratory time, like right now, we will see these Canada wobblers around the garden, just close to the cabins in Tonkin Bayard. So that's a great place to see some migratory birds, boreal migrants. Colombia Screech is another endemic. Just Colombian Screech is only found in Mindo, in Ecuador, and Tonkin Bayard in Colombia. So range is very restricted. And this is one of the best places to see this Colombian Screech owl, and we look for when we will visit. We will visit the reserve. We will look for this species. That is so great to see young owls. Also, around the cabins, you will see the Colombian or Venezuelan red Holler monkey. And one of the experience that I got, it was with this mountain tapir. We were birding around the road, and there was something big moving just close to us, probably 8 feet, maybe less, 6 feet, I can say. And he almost touched us. This mountain tapir is one of the rare mammals to see in the Andes, everywhere. And Tonkin Bayard is one of the places to look for these mammals. This is really nice mammal to see. And everybody was surprised that because it was feeding and it was not scared to see us so close. That was one of the nice experience that I have in Tonkin Bayard with this mountain tapir. I want to say thank you. And this one is a band, a local band in Colombia. And just I want to say thank you, and I record a little bit. So they are playing the vallenato. The vallenato is the local music, the traditional music in Colombia, and we have a celebration when we finish the trip. So I hope everybody will enjoy our next adventure doing the Santa Marta, you know, and the Central Valley. In this trip between Santa Marta and Central Valley, we'll see more than 50 species of hummingbirds. Remember, 26 species of the Santa Marta endemics, probably more than 30 species nearly endemic between Colombia and Venezuela. I hope to see you soon. So I will show you all this jewel that I show you in the picture, so you will see in a person with me. Rob.
Awesome. Thanks, Edison. We got a few questions here.
Sure.
Someone asked, what lens are you shooting with for all these great pictures?
What?
What lens on your camera are you shooting with for these great
I
pictures?
was just using my 100 to 400 Canon.
Okay. And someone else asked, what software you use for editing?
As I am using Photoshop.
Okay. Very good. The same person also asked if you do you calibrate your lenses for photography?
I don't calibrate, but I play with the setting.
Yeah.
When I am, because it's very hard to calibrate lens. Probably I can send to clean my lens, but when you are taking pictures, you have from the sky to the dark forest. So it's just you have to place with the setting to get the best picture. And the best thing is, take picture in RAW file. So it helps a lot.
Let's see. Someone also asked if we have an itinerary for the trip. We do. You can find our itinerary for the trip on our Saberwing Nature Tours website for the Colombia trip. This is up and available for 2022. Do we have any other questions for Edison? You can toss them in the chat. Lots of compliments and saying you've moved Colombia to the top of a lot of people's lists of places to go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, Colombia is the really rich countries, and we choose. Another thing that I want just to tell you is we choose the best places and safe places too, with food too. But to be in Colombia is also we choose the safe places, so everybody travel, no problem with anything.
Someone asked, which field guide do you recommend for Colombia?
Right now, there are a couple field guides. That is Aves de Colombia or Birds of Colombia. Make Mike McMuley is the last one, I think. It will be a completely because you have a description and the map range.
Yeah, it's been tricky. They've been getting better and better, but Colombia's been
Yes.
slow to get to a great field guide.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone asking, is Colombia safe? What are your thoughts on that?
I just told we choose the same places,
Yep, I agree. I've done a bit in Colombia, and I've always felt it's very safe. It has a bad reputation from its past issues, but things have gotten a lot better down there. Who was the author? Who was the author of that field guide that you mentioned?
Hilty.
I
know Miles McMullen.
Yep, Miles McMullen. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think he has done like 3 or 4 field guides now. And he just recently, like probably 2 or 3 months ago, I think he was pronouncing the new one.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question actually. Like, what camera, lens, and software do you use actually for taking the birds and editing the pictures?
My camera is a Canon 7D Mark II. I use my lens from 100 to 400, the new one, fast focus, and I use a Photoshop.
Oh, thank you. And do you calibrate your lens? Just asking.
It's a crop lens.
Yeah, he answered a little bit earlier. He does not do a calibration on his lens.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We are very happy to have you, and hope you enjoyed the program. And keep an eye on the Saberwing Nature Tours website for additional programs. I know we're going to be announcing one on our tours in Uganda coming up very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you have a great evening, and hope to see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.